This is a video I've wanted to make for a while, even though I feel like I say that about every video now, but I'm not sure if overhyped even is the right word to put in the thumbnail. Regardless, today we're talking about masteries, why I think they don't matter nearly as much as they used to anymore if we're not sugarcoating anything, and why I also don't exactly have too big of a problem with it. This is gonna be another rant style video, but I think this is worth talking about anyway. You guys most likely already know how I feel about masteries. I think that whole mistranslation situation with thresholds and masteries taking place in the same arc that masteries were being incorporated and really bolstered as a new power system in the story was already not a great start. When you introduce a new power system, it's a given that a lot of, if not most of your fan base is already gonna be confused about just what exactly this system entails and how it works. And so having a mistranslation, to none of PTJ or Reptune's fault by the way, already makes it 1,000 times more confusing. However, this isn't exactly when masteries were introduced. Jianliang just happened to be the arc where PTJ wanted to take masteries seriously and make these colored streaks around people's body parts symbolize something, and to this day, what they amount to is still confusing because green aura could be endurance, but there's also green streaks which are semi-unexplainable if we're relying solely on what the story has told us. And then you have these black streaks coming out of Jinrang, Jake, and Kite. It's still confusing, but let's take a look all the way back. Mastery is introduced in Eli and Samuel's fight with Seoktu. It's introduced in 3 stages, which I'm not entirely concerned with. I think the more stages there are in Mastery, the better, as a matter of fact, and that's the whole point behind this video. Mastery having this much depth to it and having 3 stages only hammers it home even more just how profound it is for a fighter to have surpassed this stage and achieved mastery. What I want to talk about though is the way mastery has been completely and utterly watered down in reference to just who's capable of achieving mastery and how it literally doesn't make a difference anymore. It is a textbook power cliff, that much we can all understand. Mastery isn't the most important thing anymore because there's paths, and paths are superior to mastery in every way, but that doesn't mean mastery should be brushed over and handed out in free samples to every fighter we know. The latest chapter ended with the reveal that Tom Lee is the first person to be shown on screen possessing 4 masteries, those being strength, speed, technique, and endurance. He also tanks a 3 mastery attack from Police Officer J like it's nothing. We're talking he took 0 damage, and somehow infuses endurance mastery into his attack. Pretty clear that mastery isn't something rare amongst these top tier fighters that we encounter now in the story, because the main cast itself has leveled up with our main character even having his own path now, and mastery shouldn't exactly be that rare when it comes to people like Tom Lee, for example. This isn't the issue though. The issue is that when you want to end the chapter on this crazy ass cliffhanger that Tom Lee has 4 masteries, first ever fighter to have 4 masteries, he's supposed to cliff Police Officer J now, and all this crazy commotion about mastery, you confuse your audience. I mean, I can't help but question myself ever since the release of this chapter when it comes to whether or not I should be impressed by Tom Lee having 4 masteries, which is what is suggested when you make it the cliffhanger of the chapter, or if it's just another nothing burger. Going back to chapter 409, the following is said: how could a second generation, sometimes when you're in a fight, you'll meet an opponent who is much stronger than you. Fighters usually call that hitting a wall. You won't gain anything by giving up once you've hit a wall, but if you have the will to overcome it, you'll reach a new dimension. Of course, not everyone is capable of reaching that stage. I managed to luck into it. There's a requirement you need to fulfill in order to reach that stage. That last part is said by Sinu Han of all people, someone with an advanced level of speed mastery, in other words, invisible attacks. And if there's anyone that you could use to introduce mastery, it's him. So this is the notion they're trying to deliver here. Mastery isn't some small stepping stone in a fighter's journey to become stronger. It's literally achieved in a fight. After they hit a wall they can't possibly overcome no matter how hard they try, yet they still proceed to overcome it. Sounds important, right? Fast forward to Busan. Keep in mind, Busan's obviously after Jianliang, so mastery is established in the form of streaks here. 2 primary members of the main cast, Vasco and Vinjin, randomly have power mastery. Excuse me? You mean to tell me Vasco fought someone that pushed him to a wall he had to try his hardest to overcome and unlock power mastery, and you didn't want to show me this on screen? I mean, if mastery is as significant as you're making it out to be, then Vasco unlocking power mastery should make him several times stronger than he was before it, shouldn't it? You could argue Braktak pushed him to that wall, which I would still say I'd like to have seen that on screen, even if in a flashback. But then you have Vinjin. Seongji, who was his teacher, is now deceased, so who else would have pushed this guy to this wall, and why didn't we hear anything of it until the guy had mastery? It seems to me like they painted mastery as this very profound stage in a fighter's career, which is a description I think is very fitting of mastery, don't get me wrong, and they set requirements for mastery. They say not all people can achieve it, but then out of nowhere, it isn't even noteworthy enough to have 2 of the main cast's members, 2 members of Allied, unlock it on screen. Not only that, but Kenta has speed mastery now. Kenta and Vasco, 2 fighters in completely different dimensions when it comes to fighting prowess, as Taesu likes to word it. Somehow both have reached mastery in only 1 field, and even that's not a given because for all we know, Vasco could just have conviction off screen right now. There's also the argument that random characters having mastery in multiple fields having met this requirement for mastery is justifiable because everyone's threshold or wall they have to overcome, their ceiling they have to reach in order to attain mastery, is subjective, but in my opinion that does nothing but take away from the importance of mastery. It enforces this idea that mastery is so easy to brush over when you introduce another power system like paths, which is executed in the most straightforward way possible, that being if you have a path, you can't lose to someone without one. If you don't have a path, good luck beating someone with one. To Kenta, his ceiling would be low as fuck, meaning attaining mastery to him at an early stage would make sense, but it would also mean there's no difference between him with mastery and him without it. He's still getting slammed regardless. That takes away from the significance of mastery. Then you have stronger characters where the initial description of mastery and the way it was hyped up in chapter 409 and 410 still applies, that being their ceiling is so high that when they reach mastery, they'd be several times stronger than before they reached it, like Daniel for example, but again, it doesn't matter because put them against a path user and there's zero difference between Kenta with mastery, Kenta without mastery, Daniel with mastery, and Daniel without mastery. Same exact result. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this ramble. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.